The All Smiling Faces podcast is now sponsored by Tyre Spot, the North East's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode. Hi everybody, welcome back to the All with Smiling Faces podcast on the GallowgateShots YouTube channel. I am your host Chris, joined by Mark and Bestie. Before we get in this live one, I just want to apologise for the audio, everybody, for last week. Our reaction to the derby, it's still done well numbers wise, but the
apologise for the audio for the last 10 years. I sort of
I apologise for the last 10 years of this podcast, but the audio was shocking. So thanks for sticking by us.
It's your fault because we didn't do it live.
It was my fault, yeah. There wasn't a lot of aggro for it. There's a couple of angry customers. Not many, though.
Deck has stormed off in a huff and he's away now.
Deck has said he's not coming back until we sort this audio as well. So Deck only comes when we win games. You noticed that recently?
Yeah.
Well, he
Fair weather fan.
Well, he doesn't get to see his lines, so spotlight's not on him, is it?
But he's like that. Tiger Woods, Patriots,
David Beckham.
Beckham, aye. James Bond.
James Bond.
He loves the winner.
I don't know why he doesn't support Man City or something
Yankees
like
didn't
that.
put that in. Did you see
Yankees are there as well, yes, correct.
PSG, he's got a couple of PSG stuff.
Aye.
Yeah, he loves a winner.
He does, aye. Always backs the Becks.
Always
Becks. Always bets on the favourite, doesn't he?
Aye, it does, aye.
But hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us live tonight. Just like the video before we get started. Almost, boys. Almost did it, didn't we? Against Man City.
Aye. I hate it when that happens, you know. It's like the best feeling in the world when it goes for you. But when it goes against you, there's not many worse feelings than that.
It was De Bruyne's goal. I mean, I was going up 4 goals before that, 3 goals before that. Totally killed the crowd. In the atmosphere, wasn't too bad. Like when it just sapped, and you could feel it. I turned to Smithy. I says, like, it's killed the crowd, and he says, aye, because everyone knows what's coming. And even that, those 2-2 at that point, with 15 minutes ago, we knew there was going to be a 5th goal, and we knew who was going to score it.
It's probably, yeah, we do know who was going to score. And once again, I'm going to blame Decker for this one as well. Oscar Bob. Who's Oscar Bob? We know who he is now. But I think
hope that goes viral.
Well, I don't think it will, because it was just a random match reaction or something.
Someone will find it.
Somebody will find Oscar
Bob. Who's Oscar Bob? I might do it.
And just make it as if it was after that game.
Aye.
But yeah, I think you've summed it up, Bestie. I think once De Bruyne came on, then the grab the equaliser. We gave De Bruyne the freedom of the city there. Like, we'll give him absolutely everything and just went, crack on, mate, do what you want. And obviously, he gets a goal and assist. And man of the match performance really coming on for what, 25 minutes?
Yeah, aye.
It's quality he's got, though, isn't it? That's that was one of the big differences between the sides, because for large parts of the second half we were kind of hanging on and defending, but we were doing well at it, like kind of keeping them out. But he's just got that quality, and you can see that they've missed it massively in the time that he's been out injured, and he's just a very, very clever player. He knew where that gap was to exploit it and just went in between our midfield in defence and just caused all sorts of issues.
It's just a bit mad when you think about when, obviously, we know that the difference between Manchester City and Newcastle and the money which has been spent and allowed to have been spent as well. But when Manchester City, Bessie, are bringing De Bruyne off the bench and we're bringing Howe off the bench, you can see there's a huge gulf.
Bob was a sub as well. It's a huge, massive gulf. And funny enough, I was listening to another podcast on the way in here,
which we shall not name.
It was Athletic. It's all right.
All right, I was listening to Athletic on the way in as well.
It was Chris Woff and the Man City writer, and they're talking about why Newcastle can't spend all the money and all that. And it was Chris who was saying that when Man City brought De Bruyne on, Newcastle had filled out a substitutions form to bring on Lascelles for Bruno.
Okay, yeah, to basically just go, 5 at the back would have been
either 5 at the back, or maybe you put Schar a bit further forward. Which,
maybe, yeah.
No.
I'm not saying that's what I want to happen.
No.
But I think that's, if you're looking at it, I don't think Botman's is a wonderful footballer. I think Schar will be the one out of all of them. Or maybe, I don't know, Trippier, you move someone right. I don't know. Either way, that's what was happening. That's what had been done. They'd apparently filled in this form to bring on Lascelles. Which I didn't. Fully enough, we were talking after the game on Saturday, saying why didn't he do that? You know, because we saw it against Milan, where we could have closed the game out and would have been in Europe now in the Europa League, and didn't and lost the game and all that. So I think it's a pretty fair argument to say that maybe should have happened.
Do you think though Lascelles coming on is going to stop that void that we've seen in the middle of the park?
I don't know. I think there's only one man who can fill that void, and he's out for the season now.
Well, apparently so, yeah.
But it's something that we saw. I remember last week talking about the chances that Sunderland had in the second half, and there weren't many, but they came around because that was the space that Joe Linton had vacated.
It's when Pritchard was picking it up there, wasn't he?
Yeah, and that's where De Bruyne picks it up. The ball comes through, and you've got three centre halves. I think midfielders on whoever plays the ball through. I forget who it was. And De Bruyne's on it. And it was
Rodri.
Was Rodri, was it? Plonker.
He's a bloody great player as well.
Yes, a great
he's
player,
unbelievable.
but do you know what it is? The new rules for dissent. He was very lucky to not get a second yellow.
We were having a right go at that, weren't we?
Yeah, very, very lucky not get a second yellow, because it was about 2 or 3 times after his booking, he was booting right
I've seen a few
off
people
at
say
the
that
referee.
about him since Saturday. But like, it's weird the way De Bruyne takes it, and we've gone really far ahead, yeah. But he's got time to kind of run around the ball almost, but get on his right foot. Where I feel as though that shouldn't, like, it's hard because Kevin De Bruyne, and he's got the quality to kind of get past it, as well as he's just a really, really wonderful footballer. But the ball's kind of going away from him towards the left, and he's got it. I'm thinking that shouldn't be able to happen.
The view that me and Mark had was perfect, obviously, because obviously we're facing towards obviously the back of De Bruyne for him setting himself up for that goal, and you just saw this gap open, and you just saw clear net, and that's all that it was, and he just slided it into the bottom corner, no effort whatsoever.
It's a good finish.
It's just a pass. It's a pass into the bottom of
Nick through Shar's
the
legs. I thought Schar maybe could have done a bit better for that one, but that's not. Yeah, he had a great game.
Yeah,
his work for the first goal in particular was like phenomenal. I thought, like, and you know what it is. I think the first 45, let's say the first half, showed that we're not. I mean, I'm not saying that we're not far away from winning the league. Well, obviously still are, but we know what we're doing. This is a good side.
So I said this to you, Mark, I think it was at half time. There was glimpses of life in that first half from the Newcastle of old.
It wasn't just glimpses of life. We're terrorising early on. Miggy played a bit more central. I noticed he kind of lined up with not quite so much on the right wing, but the few times that the ball went over to Isak, and obviously the offside goal, a lot of it came down, ironically, the side that we normally get attacked on. So, like, down towards their left back, obviously Dan Burns kind of their equalised. Well, De Bruyne occupied that space an awful lot when he came on. But quite often in the first half, that ball down in front of the East stand, and it would be Isak on it. The disallowed goal came from that, and it was offside, so fair play.
Yeah, there's 3 of them offside.
Yeah. The goal came from that, sort of, because Bruno's ball over the top. What a ball, by the way.
It was unbelievable pass, yeah.
And the chance Isak had where the keeper saved it, where he kind of made himself biggish, that came from the same thing. It was like how he knew what he was doing. And we got about them inside of Gvardiol, between Gvardiol and I forget which centre half it was now. But we really got about them in that first half. And I think we went in. Going in 2-1 up at half time wasn't a travesty, like.
Well, good value for it.
Good value for it. You could say that the chances they had, Dubravka played really well. They had a great game, Dubravka, actually, Saturday.
Yeah, he was.
He's had a few in a row now, hasn't he?
Aye.
Obviously, if you include the Liverpool one as well, where he's man of the match performance.
You cannot fault his shot stopping. Now, you can see that, obviously, having that run of games, he's getting sharper. His match fitness there, his match sharpness is there. So, point blank saves, reaction saves, and stuff like that. He's getting back to his best where he's always been done that. But the frailties are still there in the rest of his performance with, like, his starting positioning. He kind of come out and play and sweep the ball up and stuff like that, which then again leads to with defence having to fall back and stuff like that, which then spreads out that, ironically again, that gap between our defence and midfield and allows De Bruyne later in the game to kind of to drop in there. But I thought overall, he had a fantastic game. I think he was pretty much in all of the ratings I've seen. He was probably our highest rated player, and maybe other than Trippier, who I think had a tough time honestly at right back, but he was very good going forward with Miggy. I thought he was probably our best player, Dubravka.
He was certainly in the top 3 or so. I think Trippier played quite well, but then there was one point where he gave the ball away really daftly in the first half.
A couple of times, yeah.
And then the third goal, there's an argument he could do better. I think Bob does quite well at staying his feet, actually, because that could be a penalty.
Yeah, he lets him get in behind him, doesn't he?
But I thought, as I say, for points, certainly a period, well, we'll get 2 goals at that 5-minute period, wasn't even that. But around that as well, where we got about, man, this is a good side. We're not far off.
It was a great 5 minutes as well. Isak was having the time of his life on that left.
It was a real end-to-end game, like between both sides, like, and I think the way that they're set up in their formation allowed them to massively attack us and put under pressure, because they played it probably set up as a 3-4-3.
Yeah.
And then once they were in attack, they would have a forward line of 5, because the 2 fullbacks would join in, and that's what was causing the real issue. And again, you seeing Miggy playing more central, you constantly had their left back and Ake as a space. You had the same at the right hand side with Walker, because you had Foden and Doku were right up as the front 3, occupying your 2 fullbacks, which then left their fullbacks completely free at times.
That Doku's a great player as well, isn't he?
Doku was he started out on the left, and then he'd drift across into the middle. He'd appear on the right wing. It was almost like he had a free role just to go out and cause mayhem, like across that front 3.
I don't think you like that kind of player.
The difference is he's actually got some sort of end product from what he did. And ironically, he didn't have that much of it on there, but I thought he had a good game. Foden, I thought, was really, really quiet. I expected more of him, probably more of what he did in the home game.
Is it true that Foden got man of the match, though?
No, surely not.
I'm sure Scott put it out, because I said, did De Bruyne get man of the match? And he said, no, Foden got it.
Foden
Which
did.
I was shocked at.
I
didn't back this up. I didn't go and check. I didn't do me fact checking. But anybody watching, tell us who got man of the match for that.
I'd be surprised at that.
I think Kyle Walker was probably as good as... Walker had a really good game.
I would have given it De Bruyne on me.
Yeah.
If Foden had have dropped into that space, which is what he did in the home game against him, and sat in there, he would have, and he did. He caused with all sorts of problems. Let's say main road, but City and Manchester, he would have done exactly the same, because that's what De Bruyne did. But I thought for the best part, Byrne and Botman had him comfortably for the whole game.
I thought we played all right. It was similar. It was like a cup match, but the other way around. Where the first half of the cup match, we sat back and they had a lot of the ball. And then the second half, we got about them. This time around, the first half, we got about them. In the second half, I don't know.
Rodri that got man of the match.
It was Rodri.
That was
whether
more
or not we
realistic,
sat back or they were just that good that the pin was a bit of both, maybe. And tiredness. Given that we've made one sub again, it's Lewis Hall who barely had a kick.
And there's that quality from the bench that we've already just mentioned as well. That's a
massive disparity,
huge difference.
But I thought we were just really good. Helped that the keeper went off as well, because that sub keeper's kicking and just general kind of distribution was
didn't fancy it, did he?
Awful, didn't at all.
Did you see his knee?
No.
Edison.
Oh, it was a collision between Walker and...
It was when the ball comes across, and obviously they're all sliding in to try and get it. And I just thought he'd got a kick or something like that. But there's a photo where it's obviously zoomed in on it, and he's literally got a hole in the side of his leg like that. Just obviously on studs.
It did help, and basically what we saw is very similar to what we're doing against Sunderland. Just that high press and closing the likes of the defence and the keeper down, and just after the injury, Edison gets himself in trouble where Miggy closes him down and just smashes the ball off Miggy, and I think it forced to Bruno, but it just doesn't land.
Yeah, it didn't quite. And I think that was the point at which he went off near enough, Edison, because he
was just after,
he managed in a few minutes after the goal, the disallowed goal. And I've seen, I forget, it might be now a chat, someone saying Bruno should do better there. I must admit, I've not seen it back, because weirdly leaving the look at that.
We are now just looking at Edison's knee. Because look, that's. Hang on, I've got the cover in. Hang on.
Yeah, the little...
Sorry, there's people listening to the audio.
I'll send you and stick it on the.
Yeah, that's tasty.
I was weird leaving at full time, because I felt I've been there when they've beaten with 4-0 and 5-0 and I'm sure 6. We've had some real hidings off them, and leaving at full time on Saturday felt worse than any of those because we were close.
Yeah,
and I mean, I think
we made them work for those.
I think it's a
3
fair
points.
result. You know, the way the game was. I think half time 2-1 up wasn't a travesty. 2 of them wouldn't have been either. I think they hit the crossbar after we equalised, and the Dubravka made that save. But the second half was all them. Like, and we had nothing going forward. There was a couple of times the ball went over the top for Miggy or Isak, and nothing really came of it. So I think it's a fair result. But what I left the ground, I thought, that was it's worse that we're as good as we were.
Strange game though. Obviously, we'll go goal down. Then we'll score 2 quality goals after that. And
I feel we need to talk at length about these 2 finishes.
we do need to talk
Because they're
Well, I
unbelievable.
thought you were going to talk about Walker's challenge on Gordon before their first day.
Yeah,
Because I've only seen it once. Big bad. I've seen it as it happened, and I saw a very brief replay of it today or yesterday, and I thought it was soft at the time.
I was the same as you. I wasn't shocked that the referee didn't give it at the time.
And then I've got a mate, James, who's a big Bristol he is for that. He's a big Rovers fan. Sorry, Hodge. He's a massive Rovers fan, but he's got a soft spot for us because he threw like me and Amy in that. And he was like incandescent on Twitter about it. He was like, "Oh, Man City getting in again" and all that. Like, and he favours Newcastle, but he's not like a huge massive. And I thought, there might be something in that. And I've not seen it since. Really,
I thought it was
screaming.
It was a free kick. He leaves him for dust. He just plays the ball past him and he's away. And I mean, away. Walker's no slouch.
He's not.
But Gordon's gone, and he just takes him off the pitch and
It's
squeezes him out of it.
That's
Yeah,
what it is. He just doesn't give him a choice apart from get off the field.
There's absolutely no chance on earth that he's made any attempt to play that ball, do anything other than stop Gordon getting to that through ball.
The one time I've seen it since, and it was from like a face-on view, so I've literally, and it's in real time. It looks like Gordon's leaning in to go down as well. So I'd need to see it again, but it's so obviously VAR don't disallow the goal, or they don't even look at it because the ball's gone out, and it's a different phase of play altogether. So you can't like re-referee the whole, blah, blah. So if that ball doesn't go for a throw, so Walker that does what he does. They both go down.
I don't think it was Walker. It was
I thought it was Kyle Walker.
No, it was Diaz.
All right.
It wasn't Walker.
All right. So the Man City player.
Yeah, just swap
Does
that
what they
player.
do.
Yeah.
It doesn't go out. The keeper picks it up. Not literally, but this.
Gordon's getting that all day.
So VAR overturns that. If the ball doesn't go out for a throw and the game continues, they score the goal that they score. VAR would then say.
But that's the thing. For me, they don't score that goal because he puts that ball away. If he's not fouled, he gets that. He's through. He's away. He's through on goal, and he's either pulling it across the goal or he's going for goal himself. And then they're either having to reset and start again. Mm-hmm. And like you say, it's completely different phase of play. So they won't really look at it, but it just takes them off of being able to then turn around straight away and come back at us. And I think that was my frustration, is that, yes, ultimately that foul didn't lead to the goal, but the fact that they were able to play on and continue, get the ball straight away, pick it up, and then get forward, that was where my frustration came with it.
Fair. That's fair.
If shithouse Newcastle had to turn up, Gordon rolls back on the field.
Yeah. Aye.
Matt Ritchie was there, and I was surprised Matt Ritchie didn't drag him back on the
Roll
pitch.
him back over.
Just roll him back onto the field. Because obviously after the score, and it's Silva that scores, isn't it? And what a
Unbelievable finish.
great.
Unbelievable.
Outrageous. I seen, obviously Dan Byrne goes and has a word with them on the corner.
Not happy, is he?
I seen the picture. I don't know if it was put in our WhatsApp, but it's a picture of loads of Smurfs with the big fella who is black.
I've seen it, yeah.
It's basically the same thing.
Gargamel.
That's a fella, that's a one.
That just came,
Just
came in there.
for someone who struggles so much with foreign names normally, man. He pulled it out of the bag.
It was a great finish, absolutely fantastic finish. Yeah. And like you said, Dan Byrne wasn't happy. He was straight over, and I think the Newcastle bench and coach and staff were kicking off with the fourth official that
really?
Man City hadn't kicked the ball out of play, even though Gordon was off the field.
Yeah. It's not like our
he's
lads
back on at that point. They weren't happy.
No.
They weren't happy. But it's
some finish, Alec.
Outrageous, isn't it?
It reminded me a lot of I would say
Perez.
That if you remember, Mark, did that a couple of times for us. Did I would say one at the Hawthorns, one at Tottenham.
Spurs.
Yeah,
That's
one very similar. Like
He loved that. He used to try it all the time as well.
Yeah.
It was out. He cannot do anything else.
Yeah,
except that cheeky little flick behind him, because
it's a great finish.
he's not scoring any other way but doing that because the ball has to go behind him because Dubravka's there.
Yeah.
So, but that's again, it's the quality of the player, isn't it?
Using the pace of the ball to kind of, you've got to hold your hands up sometimes.
Yeah, it was a great finish. It was. I'll tell you what else was a great finish.
Yeah, we go.
Either of the two next goals.
Right, can I start before we go on to these? Well, actually, about because it's the first and finish by Isak, coming on to a really, really like Willock-esque ball by Bruno, but that comes off the back of like Fabian Schär, 2 sliding tackles to get the ball back, and then just looking up pitch, not on, and it's just brilliant by Schär. That like the bloke's just had a new contract this week.
Deservedly so as well, isn't it?
You obviously had the banner in the crowd before the game and stuff. Everyone needs a Fabian Schär, and it's been said a few times over the past 18 months, we can't have spent a better £3.5 million than that.
3 mil, wasn't it?
What a player he's been for. And given that
he's up there with the best value, like
that ex-Man U player who said that he couldn't defend as part of a 2, had to be in a 3. Like he's just been astonishing for us. Like
he's been great.
6, 7 seasons, and he's, I'd say 4 or 5 of them, he's been wonderful. And he's not perfect. I think he could do better for the Bruyne goal. But the work he did for just to win the ball back, and the ball's going nowhere. It's towards the east stand. There's not really much on. He wins it, and he goes, "I'm going to win this again." And how many times we've seen him play 1-2, like, give the ball and try and run up, and he can't. I'm just going to give it to Bruno.
Yeah,
and
the
ball, it's unbelievable. Absolutely, like that's the quality. It's almost that quarterback kind of pass, isn't it? It's just, and it's weighted perfectly. Because Isak just takes it in his stride and his way, and I've honestly got no idea how from such a central position he puts that ball where he does.
I thought, because Gordon was on the overlap, I thought, the defender's got back here, he's going to have to go out wide, then we'll maybe start that. Nope. No, not a thought. It's a great finish.
It's just so, like, he just gives himself that little yard with, like, touch, and how he, like I say, that the bend and get it in there, because the keeper... Like it's as if the keeper's about 5 foot tall because he just looks tiny trying to get over to try and save it. He's getting absolutely nowhere near it. Scandalous.
Everything about it was beautiful.
About a minute before that, Bruno had not long been booked for a stupid foul on halfway. And I was talking
pointless, wasn't it?
I was talking to Smithy next week, and I was saying like that's why everyone's on about this £100 million. Like we're going to sell a player in the summer by the look. I'll be the question that they say at the end. We'll not get 100 million for him. He's not worth 100. And I'm like, I love Bruno, but that stops him being worth £100 million. And then as the words tumble out my mouth, he does that. Actually, maybe he is, because that was like, that's world class. That like, and again, he's that as well. The way he takes it forward, and like I say, the defenders on him, and I think, oh well, how many times do you say it? That's a shame. Well, maybe next time it'll come off. Nope, I'll just put it top corner.
He's absolutely ice cold Isak. Do you know what it is? God. The more you see that player, and we knew as soon as we got him after seeing him for his debut against Liverpool.
Anfield it was.
It's the one where he scored the 2, only got 1. That one. We knew straight away we had a player on our hands.
Yeah,
but I didn't realise he was going to be this good. If he was in somebody like Man City's team or someone like Arsenal or something like that, right? And that might be the case at some point down the line. God forbid that was to ever happen.
You automatically think when you say Arsenal, you go to one place with that thought, don't you?
Thierry Henry, he's special. Like
I tell you what, he's not.
I
tell you what, he's not special. 1 on bloody ones. He had two or three 1-on-1s with the keeper on Saturday and fluffed them all.
Did he?
He did. The one I can remember, the keeper did well. It's a bit of an angle.
To be fair, the keeper does stay up and like he doesn't make a decision to go down or try and force him in. He just keeps himself stood up for as long as he possibly can, which I think is probably what affects Isak, because he then doesn't know whether just to put it around him, lift it over him, and then in the end he doesn't do any of it. He just hits it straight at the keeper. But yeah, that was for me was a little bit of a frustration with what he, because like you seen with that goal and his runs, his movement, what he's capable of doing, and it's that game we could have been high and dry and well gone.
So I saw a couple of lads that I know that are Arsenal fans mention on Twitter about Isak and having a conversation talking about Isak and just how good of a player he is. Arsenal refused to pay 45 million for him just 6 months before we purchased him.
Were we 60, 65?
60, I think. Yeah, it was a release clause. I think was it a release clause that we?
Is he all right? What's signing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he is. But they were kicking themselves saying that if he had a new, he was just going to hit the ground running in the Premier League like that. It looks like he's been here for years. He's the sort of player that could probably just play in any single league you put him in.
It's not even been a year since he came back from his injury. And we're already talking about him as being, he had that game against at Anfield, scored, had that one disallowed, and he was knackered pretty much straight away after that. And it was only after the World Cup that he really started to come back, if memory serves.
Well, he hasn't even looked fit in recent weeks.
That's another thing.
Do you think you saw the difference against Man City?
Oh, 100%.
He scored 15 now this season, 16?
Top of my head, I don't know. He'll be top goal
Maybe
scorer.
14. I saw a thing with 14 for our number 14, but I don't know if that was from this weekend or last. But he's like, this is like Mark says, he's someone who, how many weeks did we sit here and say like he doesn't quite look? He's still in the Champions League, the Dortmund games, he's not quite right. He's come back from injury, and now he's got 2 against Sunday. He got that one on Saturday, scored at Anfield again, and he's just scoring goals without people noticing almost. All of a sudden he's got. And at the start of the season, I remember a few months in, a few weeks in. Yeah, Haaland was top scorer, and Isak and Wilson were up there as well. And the lads have done, when they played, they've done really well. The injuries have absolutely pulled at us this season. Big style.
I thought against Manchester City, him and Gordon, 2 of the players that we've seen get tired pretty early on in games, just looked relentless. At times.
You can see the difference in Gordon massively. Ironically, Miggy was gassed after like half an hour.
Yeah.
But more Gordon and Isak were like. Did the blood? No, Gordon came off, didn't he, for Hall?
Gordon came off, yeah.
Yeah, it was Gordon came off.
Late on.
He went off on the East Stand and walked.
That's right, yeah.
He went off the East Stand. But I think it's, if we move on to our second goal, and you think Isak's finish is great. Gordon's is fantastic. And it's exact same point of the net as well.
Pretty much.
Both shots.
Having 2 finishes like that, so close together, from literally a ball out pace, the break that we make, it just like it's very, very simple to do, like almost a long ball through, get at them, but
there's so much to do after that ball.
Yeah, well that's it. You think
the Burn gives him, didn't he?
Burn plays it down
nice
the side.
pass from Burn, and then he's away, and you know where he's going to go because it's what he does. He picks it up, gets into the box,
it's
and
that slight little touch
you
that
look,
he does before he's taking the shot yet again that you see him do, and he's a. Do you know what it is? We're talking about the 2 players. There's Gordon and Isak. What best part of 100 million?
Yeah,
on the 2 of them.
Slightly more.
Great way to buy players and spend money. If that's what it is, 100 mil for 2 players of that quality, that are going to have hopefully a long future at this football club.
But I mean, they'll both be. Well, whatever happens, they'll be transformative because either the form or when Isak goes, if he does, let's say Arsenal, because that's what it's been taught. I don't know if it's been talked about with any great kind of confidence is going to happen or not. But that's hypothetically, he's not going to go for 5 million more than paid him for. He's going for a good amount of money if he goes. But and both were signed kind of when they shouldn't have been signed. So Isak came in when Wilson was injured at the start of last season. Yeah. And Gordon was meant to be coming in the summer, but they brought it forward because, they thought they had an injury crisis. If only we knew.
Well, we weren't even going to sign Isak, we'd had that deal done with Watford to
João Pedro.
To sign Pedro.
And you're forgetting about the kid that went to PSG as well. He was linked before Isak.
Yeah.
Oh, he was linked beforehand as well.
Yeah, he was, aye.
Then out of nowhere. Was it the last couple of days of the transfer window were brought?
Yeah.
Well, it's because they thought he wasn't going to be available. The fee was going to be too much and stuff like that, and it just then transpired, which meant they had to then go back on the other deal that had already been agreed because it was too good to turn down. And we're now, I mean, Pedro's having a hell of a season
really
at Brighton since he's gone there, but you see the quality that we've got there with Isak and what he's capable of doing. It's just. And he can only get better. He's still a very, very young player.
23.
So it's rosy, isn't it?
Well.
It is. The future is rosy.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, really, it is.
Yeah.
It's you hear Joe Linton being out as long as he has, and Barnes, Willock, Wilson, Pope.
The frustrating
Botman was
thing
for as long
is,
as he was.
we discussed this, I think it was a couple of weeks ago now, maybe the week before, we said that, yes, we're looking at the future and thinking, yes, if these players come back from injury, then great, the remainder of the season will be fantastic, as long as another player doesn't pick up a serious injury. Then a couple of games later, Joe Linton picks up an injury, and obviously we're seeing the rumours today once again.
I hope that's
Does it
just.
have much substance to that one? Because we don't know who
I
the
hope it's
reporter
crap.
is.
I hope it's crap.
It's a lad in Brazil that was reporting it to say that Joe Linton may need surgery, and if he does need surgery, he's out for the rest of the season. It's a huge loss, Joe Linton. Massive.
Yeah. That's a part of the pitch where we are at our most vulnerable.
Yeah.
To me, you look at the goals we've conceded of late, the chances at Sunderland, the goals at the weekend, certainly the Bruyne's, and at Anfield, a big part of our struggle has been that quarter of the pitch between, say, halfway line and halfway inside our half. We're just giving teams loads and loads of room.
It's because Joe Linton he's that player that sits in there, and he'll be the one that goes and presses the ball and stops the ball from the defence into the midfield, or from the midfield through into their strikers.
We don't really have. Tonali's probably the other player that I think would be able to do that, but obviously he's not able to play at the moment. It's not Longstaff's game, it's not Bruno's game really. Miley, it doesn't appear to be his. Miley, I thought.
But that's what's leaving the space, because there isn't anybody naturally that'll do that. So all three of them do it. We're very we do it anyway. We're quite flat across that three, and they'll push up and look to press the ball. One of them will go to do it if the striker's off to the side or something like that. They'll push into the midfield. The striker will go and cover the two centre backs, and that's where you then. And we've talked about it, particularly in the away games, having a natural number 6 in there. You don't have that issue, because then you'd have your two centre midfielders that go in, and one of them's just going to sit and pick up that space in De Bruyne.
There's been loads of screenshots from the weekend where all three centre midfielders are just right next to each other, can literally touch each other.
That's close. Just before De Bruyne scores.
It's just before De Bruyne scores, yeah. And there's a couple of more moments where they were just sat on top of each other, hence why there was just a huge pocket of space, and both behind, in front of defence, and obviously pushing out on the sides as well. We've been a huge fan of Lewis Miley since he came into this team, and I know it's Manchester City, but he looked miles away from everybody else on that field on Saturday.
At times he looked all right. It was a nice little touch.
I think miles away is a bit harsh.
I thought later in the game it just started creeping by him.
You can tell when I don't want to blame Lewis Miley for that issue with the midfield, because that's
like his
it's
game.
beyond just him. But him being on the field, I said this last week, him being on the pitch instead of Joe Linton, you can see that are different players.
Yeah.
And you can see the different the qualities Joe Linton brings. I mean, at 17-year-old, there's probably never been a 17-year-old in the world that can do what Joe Linton does. Maybe Bellingham might be an example when he was a bit younger. But I think Miley, I don't think he played back the first half. There's some nice little touches and all that. I thought he did look off the pace a bit. I agree with that. I don't think he was miles off necessarily, but you could see that he was maybe a bit green on Saturday. But again, he was not.
That's quality that he's up against, though. Is it? Hell of a difference.
I don't want this to come across as a criticism of his, because he's 17-year-old. He's been really reliable this season.
Yeah, he's been great.
It's just looking at it, the more you kind of come to learn about a player, see what a player brings, you can see what they don't bring at the same time. And that's something that Miley, at the minute, maybe he will in time.
Yeah.
At the minute, that's what we miss when he's on a pitch instead of Joe Linton.
And there's certain moments where you think, right, more experience ahead on you than you don't do those sort of things.
But he's not.
He's
not meant to be playing. You look at the players that have got out, and
even
Elliot Anderson would have been playing ahead of him. And Anderson's a young lad, he's 21, 20, but he's and Anderson was kind of the.
Which I think, from a press point of view, probably would work better having him.
Yeah, I think so.
In there, given the situation where we are, which then would mean Bruno doesn't have to step up as far as he does. And again, Bestie, if your auntie had tits, would have a different situation, because the goal wouldn't come about. But it's came about because De Bruyne is very, very clever. He knows just to put himself in there, because he can see what the midfield are doing them. They did it for a hell of a lot of time, because we were getting pressed back and pushed, and what for long periods we were camped on the edge of our box. So the only way to try that's it, and the only way you can try and get yourself out of that is by when they have got possession in defence, is you're pushing out and trying to squeeze them up.
I think the difference was when there was moments in the first half where Man City had a lot of possession, but when we did get a hold of the ball, we hit quick.
Explosive.
We're really causing trouble.
Second half was a different story. When we got the ball, we just got rid of it straight away. We just lost it.
It was like the ball wasn't on.
Yeah.
Often I don't know if the lads were getting a bit tired. Like I said, Gordon and Isak went over the top a couple of times chasing balls, but it never really looked. I don't remember they keep having a great deal to do in the second half.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say about Gordon's goal, again, actually going back to that, and I forget who was saying this. Apparently, this is something that he's been working on loads. I don't know if I was listening to something or it was maybe Andy Brass on the rap. I forget what it was, but apparently Anthony Gordon's been when he first came through with Everton, that was like his trademark almost. Like coming inside, taking a touch and bang. And apparently he's been working on it loads recently, and it's starting to happen again. He was great again, Gordon. I think he's been. I was going to say the sign of the summer. Give that the other two, but Tonali and Barnes. It's not.
Yeah, doesn't have much to go up against.
Two lads that I like, but it's a low bar for various reasons. Like so, yeah.
Well, you're forgetting Tino in there as well.
Yeah, Tino. I think Eddie's forgotten about him as well. All of a sudden.
Well, my worry is obviously he missed the weekend with an illness. You can guarantee that as soon as he.
What I love about that, right? I've seen a few people when they talk about his illness and they've got to say alleged illness as if he's not ill. Like they go illness, like
he's 100% had a flu or something. I mean, there's a lot of it going around.
Hotel rooms.
It used to happen. It used to happen loads on that Porju where a player was missing. He used to go, the ill.
He's been dropped.
What does that even mean?
Yeah. What? Think he's been purposely left out? I mean, he wasn't going to play, was he? Burn was going to play, but you'd certainly expect him to be on the bench, and you can guarantee he would be coming on ahead of Hall.
I think he's unlucky not to be playing. To be honest with you, the way he played when he was in the first team, I think I like Dan Burn. I've said a few times. I think Dan Burn. That some of the opinions on Dan Burn are a little bit kind of short on memory. But I thought Livermore had done enough to stay in the first team when he was in there.
No, I agree. I do agree.
You just worry though that this illness with our record with injuries, he's going to bloody get the plague or something like that, and be case 0 for the new COVID-24.
Lose a leg.
Zombie breakout.
It's not
Newcastle United.
It's just how I look at them in it, isn't it? Something innocuous, like a frigging toe.
You're not
17 months later, he's still out.
It's so frustrating that the legs, and there has been a couple of questions about injuries, and saying even more concerned now the fact that Joe Linton's
I refuse to believe it.
I know, but there's no smoke without fire when it comes to these sort of things, is there?
If he's
you
out,
always hear the rumor about the length of how long they're going to be sidelined first.
I've been quite not bullish, but I've been pretty confident that it's a C mark. That regardless. If the injuries we've had so far, if we get a good run in the second half of the season, I think I'll finish the season well. We'll do all right. We'll finish. Now, if that's true about Joe Linton being out for the rest of the season, I'm not as confident now. I think that's
he's a massive miss. He's a massive
one
miss.
in and one out, but the one that you're losing is superior compared to the lads that come back.
Oh yeah, and especially given that there's no money apparently. Like the shaking a piggy bank, there's just nothing in there at the minute. So, but there again, I'm kind of a little bit. Luke Edwards, I think it was today, said that there's no interest in Harvey Barnes. Calvin Phillips anymore. That's saying it's not worth it.
Yeah, not financially.
Well, not at what's being reported now.
But then it's that old thing of if you sign him to cover the short term, if Man City want an obligation to buy in there, then we've got to buy him because that's how that works. And then all of a sudden next season you've got Phillips, Willock, Bruno, Tonali, Anderson and Miley, Longstaff, Joe Linton,
Willock.
Yeah, we've got Isaac Hayden's coming back. We've got Jeff Hendrick. We've got a load of. In that mad, you think that Jeff Hendrick's still a Newcastle player. That shows how early in the process we are still.
Yeah.
And I think it does get a bit tiresome when people go, remember where we were a couple of years ago. I don't think that's totally redundant to say that. But I think you've got to kind of look at progress and all that. But we are still really, really early on in the whole.
Of course, what?
I wonder what Bentalab's up to these days.
Bentalab?
Yeah.
Probably playing on. He's lining up for some team in Provision Soccer. Give that's not his name, is it?
Bentalab.
That's him. I don't know.
Close enough.
Was he go back? He was a Schalke, wasn't he? I think.
Well, we brought him and didn't we? And just a short-term loan in the January.
And, Danny Rose, it was.
Who was that one player that you couldn't pronounce his name for ages?
Slimany.
Slimany.
I still can't remember whether it's Slimany, Slimani, or
Slimani.
Slimani. There you are.
Yeah.
We're doing a podcast, and I think you said about 10 names in the space of a minute for him.
He was
dog shite him.
Did he score against Arsenal? Was he?
No, he won a header. No, Leicester Ham.
He won a header.
no. He won a header for which the ball came down to Richie, who played it through to. Who did he play the ball through to? Someone else. That was the winning goal against Arsenal one time.
I just remember him in the Arsenal game.
He was shocking.
He did really well in that one moment. Him I was talking at the weekend, actually, about this. Facundo Ferreira. Seydou Doumbia. Players that we've had that have, like, Shefi Kuchi, you could say, going back a long way.
Fatino, however.
Remain Amalfitano.
That was it.
I'm a little bit
Did anyone say Doumbia there?
Seydou Doumbia, yeah. Amalfitano, you remember the Milton Nunes thing with Sunderland?
The wrong Alan. I can't even say it.
Because his brother Morgan went to West Brom and did all right. I'm wondering if we've got the wrong one there. We've kind of gone, we'll go and get him.
Well, they even said that about Murphy.
Another one that he's apparently not that far from coming back. So that, by our standards, probably means at some point in 2025, Grand Theft Auto 6 will by the time Murphy gets him.
Dislocate his other shoulder.
It's so frustrating. It really is. But I'll ask you a question though. What, considering everything which has happened so far this season, what is a successful season now, more position wise? Because it's at what, 10th now?
Apparently we are 10th now. Yeah,
I don't know. Like position wise, probably isn't the success for me this season. I think if we could stopping up, I think we're all right on that front. I don't know. It might be a bold statement, but I think we'll be all right. Unless the way things are going with bloody Everton and Forest, we'll probably get a 30-point point deduction for some stupid reason because it's us.
I seen James looking at that.
I'd be looking at the cups.
Aye.
Yeah.
So a successful season for you would be winning a cup that we haven't won for 68 years.
Why wouldn't it be?
There's
only one cup left, isn't
there? I was
it?
going to say the cup, we've only got one left.
Yeah. For me, qualifying for the Conference League, if I can finish 8th, I think that gets win there. Like
I was thinking 8+, like.
Any sort of European football is fantastic.
Getting Europe again, we've had a good season.
Yeah.
We've had a comparatively, contextually good season.
And if you look at that on paper, right? If you look at it on paper, what happened last season compared to, let's say, if we do finish 7th this season, yes, on paper it looks like we've dropped off, which technically we would have, but there's been
hell of circumstances. Yeah.
As a club in a far better position than we were 12 months ago, looking at the seller deal, Adidas deal that haven't come in yet, which they come into next season's accounts, and that's why that they haven't kind of the coffers, as it were, as much as it should have done. But the stuff, the training ground, I think as a club, as I say, we are in a far better place, and we've got the Champions League money coming as well. Not as much as I'd like because it didn't qualify for the knockout rounds, latter rounds. But weirdly, if you'd said, I thought 8th last season. I think I predicted 8th last season actually. So I'd have been happy this season with. If we finished 8th last season, this season I'd have been happy with 5th or 6th or 7th even. Yeah. Just any progress. Having finished 4th last season, to be happy with 8th feels a bit like a regression, but I don't think it is. I think you've got to look at the
circumstantial, isn't it?
Yeah, look at the clubs that have got into Europe. We've done it before: Fulham, West Ham, Southampton. We did it in 2012 when we got the quarterfinals of the Europa League and only stayed up on the 37th game of the season in QPR. So there's context around it all. I think it hasn't been the dream season. It hasn't been last season. Last season was it was incredible. Right?
It was phenomenal.
This season has had its moments. We've beaten Sheffield United 8-0. We've beat Villa 6-1 first game this season. We've beat PSG 4-1. Derby. We've beat Sunderland 3-0 the Derby at their place. We've had loads of moments in the season, but the injuries have totally knackered with. Absolutely. And the game on Saturday, we mentioned earlier, they brought the Bruyne on, they brought Oscar. And again, listen to the
Oscar Bob.
Listen to the Athletics podcast there. I'm only about halfway through it. The Man City fella who's on there said, Man City fans are looking at that bench thinking, that's quite weak, that's not a great bench. Because I know it hasn't got the strength and depth that they have. And they look at the Newcastle bench going, actually, that Man City bench is pretty good, really. We're just not at that point yet. As I say, we've still got playing for Newcastle, still got Isaac Hayden, still got Jeff Hendrick, Paul Dummett's still there, Matt Ritchie's still there. We've still got players that were in the Championship.
Ryan
with
Fraser.
Whoa.
Fraser.
Didn't be putting Matt Ritchie
No,
in
this
that camp with them?
This isn't. I'm not saying bad players. I've got.
Mind, I liked Isaac Hayden. I
Players
still
that
do.
were, I like Hayden. I like Dummett. I like them all. To be honest with you, Hendrick. I like them all. Is what I'm saying is that the players that were pre-takeover, pre-Premier League, a lot of them, you know what I mean, before came back.
Yeah, they were playing
So we're still
Championship football, weren't they?
when that's. And we look at the bench on Saturday. 2 goalkeepers. The young lad.
A load of
Murphy
young'uns.
is a striker. Loads of young'uns. He was the only attacking option we had on the bench. We had Lewis Hall. We had Dummett again. We had Matt Ritchie. We just don't have the strength and depth. And even with. It's just the injuries. The injuries are absolutely buggered. And I saw someone on Twitter over the weekend make a point that Howe's made mistakes because he only brought 1 sub on at home to Brentford early in the season.
I don't even remember that ball.
I can't, but I saw this thing, and it's using that as mitigation. Well, Howe's got it wrong, and I'm sure if Eddie Howe had this season again, he maybe would do things because I think Eddie Howe is. I think he's quite self-reflective. I think he would go.
That's a learning curve for him
I
as well.
don't think he takes. I mean, I don't think that he's responsible solely for the reason Newcastle are struggling. We're not struggling with 10th. You know what I mean? We struggled. How many years have we struggled?
There's 100% been games where, I mean, we've sat here and said it, where you were surprised changes hadn't happened, we hadn't made substitutions, and yes, there mightn't have been, an uplift in quality or an equivalent player to come on versus what you're taking off, but
I think
it's
that
a
was
fresh
around
pair of legs.
It was
It's
around
a
about
bit
the
more
time
energy.
Kraft was returning back to fitness, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Around about that time.
Quite early in the season,
And obviously you had Hall on the bench, you had Tino on the bench as well.
like.
All defensive players, though. That's the issue.
But
It
the kind of
is.
season it's been like I'm sitting here. I've got this season's away shirt with the Champions League badge on the sleeve over there. You've got flags of Sweden for Isak, Brazil for Peru. And like this is what Newcastle are now. Well, this is like well in 10th, and it's people talk about crises and all that. And it's like, no, we're doing all right, man.
Yeah.
It's just
And
it's
again,
not a process. I say we've got those players in the Championship. We'll shed those as time goes on, and sooner or later we'll be looking at first teamers that we have now as being like the squad players that we need to shift.
Backup lads.
We need to get. I'm not going to say Miggy because he gets a hard time anyway. But like someone like Dan
Burn.
he does as well.
Excuse me. He's one of our most consistent players.
We're working again squad wise for this. Someone like
Longstaff.
Longstaff, yes, Longstaff. Someone will be going, Longstaff. We need to get Longstaff off the books so we can buy such and such. And
Which people have said this season.
Yeah,
It's
and I've seen people say he might be the one to go for the not FFP, whatever it's called, the Premier League version of it, sustainability. That because that's pure. Because he didn't sign him on.
it is,
from
but he's
Norfolk, isn't
he's also a homegrown player. That's not,
Yeah. I'm in no hurry for anything to go. As I say, I like him all, but that in a few years' time we'll be looking at first teamers now going like, they're holding it back a little bit.
Just because you mentioned the likes of the contracts and those lads, obviously
Wilson?
Fabian gets his,
Wilson's
probably a
that's
great
the
example,
one. Like,
to be fair.
yeah,
You've had obviously Fabian get his extension, contract extension. Don't think he had any work done on the house.
maybe it wasn't his house.
Joe Linton did, bastards. Jesus.
I can't go around to that's grim behaviour.
Like, do you know what? Right, I'm going off track what I was about, but I'm going to mention this as well. Do you know, like, when you hear about a footballer's house getting robbed, which is shit crack anyway, right? It's not just chavas off the street, is it?
Nah, it's organised crime.
Like, it's
that.
organised, that, isn't it?
Well, it's,
Yeah.
It's not like just some chava, like, checking somebody's car.
oh no, it was armed
On gang, wasn't it?
Bastards, isn't it?
But it's
I don't want to say nothing, kids will come for me. My house
I think you're out.
Gateshead.
I think you're all right.
Top of the hill. Snow on the bonnet.
Oh, murder this morning.
But it's like you see it all the time, and we've seen it recently. Players being away on international duty, being out the country and stuff like that because they live their
Having
lives
trips not long ago, didn't
on social media.
He's from Liverpool quite
It's-
a bit.
yeah.
Jared, I remember getting theirs.
Well, it was all like the Northwest players because they all lived in the same streets, so they knew that like if Man United were playing away, they could knock off 4 houses next door to each other.
Ryan Giggs playing away all the time as well. wasn't he?
Hey, allegedly. No, it's true.
No, it's
he got
true,
done for it,
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it? That's
Luckily
fine.
for
Wouldn't say
the
that.
Joe Linton family, nobody was at home.
Yeah.
They were up
But that's
taking
the 100% why they robbed it because they knew they weren't there.
I'm not as upset about that now.
But there's nobody there.
There's no one next. You think the kids and all that, like
Yeah.
Mrs. Joe Linton.
It must still be awful though to think that somebody's been in your house and done that when you've been
I
out.
don't like anyone in my house. My sister come to my house. It's my
It's
house.
just it's that whole invasion of your
it's awful
privacy
stuff,
and like
yeah.
Andy says, can you imagine if Joe Linton was in?
why?
Duncan Ferguson. That time, remember that?
Oh.
Got a hold of him, man. Duncan.
If you're going to rob any Newcastle United player's house, You don't do Joe Linton's like.
You go for
Mickey,
a trip, yeah, wouldn't you? Because all his stuff's low down. You haven't got to reach up.
Mickey, he'd probably welcome them in and make them a cup of tea or something because he's just so nice, isn't he?
It's just it's shit crack. It is
don't-
Awful.
Just
Just
Absolutely
don't
awful.
rob people. That's our
Don't,
advice.
it's
Don't
not,
rob people.
oh yeah, that's. I agree.
Yeah. What I was going to talk about, sorry everybody, is contracts. We'll mention Fabian gets his contract extension. There was a few talks about bringing in centre backs. Obviously, that's not going to happen now because we know we haven't got any money to spend.
Not immediately, no.
Lascelles, do you think he's done enough to get a contract extension, which would obviously get around the need to bring in another defender?
I'd say so. I think in the time that he's been called on this season, he's done very, very well. And yes, he's had his critics over, not just this season, over the years on some of his performances. I think this has probably been one of the best seasons that he's had for us. In even when he was playing very regularly, there was always maybe a mistake or you felt something could happen. I think he's been very, very consistent. He's a club captain, which is a huge thing from the point of view of what he does with the rest of the team off the pitch and around and about the place.
Very, very good.
Yeah,
Really
so
good, Abram, yeah.
you just...
I think he gets another year,
I think he does. I think he
agree
does.
that- I wasn't sure. Even last summer, I would have said that's somewhere where we need to look because we haven't got much. I mean, Burns is centre half as well. Really, we've got full backs cover either side now. So, yeah,
And
I
we've
think
seen Kraft can obviously do a job there as well.
Kraft,
Yeah, he's done well filling in there.
and Target still a Newcastle player as well. He had that freak injury to Old
God,
Trafford.
I completely forgot about
Yeah.
Target.
You'd think his days are potentially numbered now, wouldn't you?
thought so.
Which is...
Oh, not necessarily because Manquillo's there. Livermento's a right back, really. And Lewis Hall.
Aye, but you've
hasn't
got...
played enough. I'm still not convinced by Hall. I hope I'm wrong. I hope
I'm
that.
with you. I said this the other week.
Yeah. I've not
You
seen
got
him
Jamal
yet.
Lewis as well, still on the boot, obviously out
Howe?
on loan as well, isn't he?
He's not still ours, is he?
Well, yeah, he's out on loan.
Yes, aye. Yeah, he went. Where did he go?
Jesus.
He go about Norwich, did he?
There was a deal lined up for someone who refused to go. Was it Birmingham? There was a deal lined up and he refused to go and he wanted to fight for his place at Newcastle and he ended up going somewhere else.
God, I've got...
Somebody will tell
Somebody
me
will be
what
telling me in
Yeah,
the comments,
oh,
but
well,
I'm...
I could
I'm
do it.
Where's
complete-
Lewis?
I wish. No, it is. He's another one.
Watford.
Did he not...
apparently.
Yeah. Aye.
So again, there's a few. We've got a few left backs on the book. It's Pordew days again, isn't it?
I
So-
honestly think Lascelles is, for what it would take at this moment in time, I don't think a centre back is a priority for
Nah,
us.
I agree.
Hence why Lascelles could stay a
think it's-
bit longer.
There'll not be many teams if he's technically fourth choice centre half, third or fourth choice because Dan Burn. There'll not be many Premier League teams with that kind of strength and depth in that position.
Yeah.
I think we did miss Botman when he wasn't here. When he wasn't playing. It sounds harsh to say that's a bit of a drop off from Botman to the cells. It is, but he did really well. And like Mark says, I can't remember him being as consistent. There were a couple of little things in there, but I can't remember Lascelles in all the years he's been here as a first choice centre half being as good as he's been this season. I think back to when he chased down Dembele at home to Milan. Big pardon, PSG.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, where's that pace come from? He never had that before. He's big, but like muscular big. He's not like me big, you know what I mean? But he's no one else, no one should be. But now he looks fit. He's very good to have around the place. When he, like what Mark was saying there, like being a club captain, being a kind of a focal point and all that. Like I think he's certainly done enough for another year.
Yeah.
Again, if he's starting all the games next season, you think
It's different.
but I like Lascelles. Probably I like him more now than I ever have done since he joined. To be honest
So
with you.
let's say it, right. If this injury to Joe Linton now is a lengthy one, he's out for the season. January, right? So January comes along, and we don't know what's going to be spent, if anything, in January. It doesn't look very likely, and it doesn't look great on the horizon. What's your player that you're bringing in regards to not the player's name, but position-wise now? Because Joe Linton missing has left a huge void in that centre.
It is, but it's a massive hole to fill, and
I'm not saying just
to try
a
and
like-for-like player, but it's another body in centre.
Ruben Neves.
Ruben Neves, yeah.
Honestly, he fills that gap.
Yeah.
We're a better team with him in it than we are without him. If Joe Linton's not there, so Ruben
So
Neves.
just pick up the summer rumours and just move them to January.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently, we've already been told.
You know what it is? It doesn't matter which player had got injured, what position.
No,
It doesn't matter. He'll still say the one player that you should sign is Ruben Neves.
No, because if it'd been a striker, I would have said Mikel Antonio.
Well, there is that as well, like I suppose.
Well, apparently, we don't have a money to bring in a player as Solanke's quality. So
I think he'd go for a decent amount of money. You know, he's
I think-
he's probably having one of his best seasons he's had in
I think he's having his best
a
season.
long time.
but anyway, I went off it a little bit there. But it was
Striker as a position for me, like, because you just don't know how long Isak will keep going, how long Wilson's going to be out,
if they're going to be out at the same time.
Yeah, that's a huge
That's the
worry.
issue.
Yeah,
And with the striker, you can put Isak on one of the wings. If Miggy's full of energy and he works.
well, you
so
stick
hard,
him
that
on the
boy's-
left and you move Gordon to the right or
Exactly,
something
yeah.
like that, can't
Yeah.
you? So
So I like Miggy, but his decision making at times, not so much last week and the week before, but at times can be baffling.
Yeah.
But again, against Sunderland, I thought he was phenomenal.
He was using his right foot more the last
I
two
thought he
games.
played. I thought he played well against Man City as well. I
Yeah,
thought
he was.
him and Trippier were
Yeah,
were
played
back
really
at the
well,
best.
He
But
tripped me on shite earlier.
what? Did on Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
He
You
did.
did.
No, I said he played really well. I said he made that mistake in the
You
first
said he
half.
made mistakes. I said other than Dubravka, I thought he was one of our better players.
No, you said he was shit. You want to sell him?
That was weeks ago.
You did also. You said he was very good. Watch it back.
I didn't like.
Watch it back now.
Definitely didn't.
I'm going to find it.
Don't go and find it.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Darren Eales has said that in the interview when the finances were released that we probably wouldn't be dipping into the Saudi market. Are you believing that?
I don't know what, like, if, and I know there's this whole stigma about it because of the ownership model and stuff like that, and that. But if the right deal comes along and there's a player available and we could do it, then why would it be
Just
the
like
wrong
we did
thing to
with
do?
Isak and Gordon.
Yeah,
Jordan Henderson wants to go, doesn't he?
that is not the right player.
Well,
Absolutely not the right player.
Ben Jacobs put a.
I'm not sure he's
well,
fitting well in our
he wouldn't
midfield.
fit
Like,
in midfield, no. But he put a thread on today with the rumoured Saudi players that wanted out of the league.
Yeah.
It was a decent read, but apparently that Henderson has put nothing forward to the club, that he doesn't want to be there. And
Right.
I think the only ones that were rumoured that has any substance to it were Firmino.
Yeah, I'd heard he wanted to go, yeah.
He was the only one that's
No,
actually
I was thinking,
requested.
yeah. Firmino.
Firmino.
Firmino, yeah.
He'd think he'd cost you a fair amount in wages, wouldn't he?
Well, not us, he wouldn't, because PIF would just...
Just give him
Get
on
the
a
lads to
free.
do it,
Get him on
like
a
that.
free.
Well, that's another thing to mention, though. Obviously,
We're saying him on a free from Saudi. Bobby Firmino. There you are. Goes perfectly, that.
we
Well.
a lot of talk about financial fair play as well,
Mm-hmm.
and how that everybody wants the rest of the clubs, so the other 14 clubs, to get their heads together to demand that something changes with FFP and what's this other abbreviation that I've seen recently?
Profit and sustainability.
When did that become a thing?
It always has been.
Has it?
FFP's the UEFA one.
I've never seen it before until
It's
last
tough.
week, and it's been constant.
It's been a thing since 2016, apparently, and that's what Everton's 10-point deduction was, profit
Right,
and sustainability.
okay.
But yeah, it's something like that. But yeah, that's so they're saying that the other teams want to be able to spend more money.
The other 14 think that it needs to be looked at again because the rules which were set up previously are just
Yeah, they're over
completely
the
void now.
10-year-old rules or something like that, so they're no
Yeah.
longer fit for purpose. They're still
Haven't
using the
gone
same
to, like,
figures because of
Exactly. 'cause of
inflation's gone
inflation
up,
and
cost
stuff,
of everything has increased.
You'd need more than the 14, though, wouldn't you? Because you could then theoretically be within the profit and sustainability rules for the Premier League, but then fall outside of the Champions League.
Everything
UEFA.
else, yeah.
So then you'd have to adhere to the £30 million a season, is it, the Champions League one? The UEFA one, beg pardon, something like that. So assuming that the Premier League said, right, double it, 60, then UEFA go, no, we're sticking to 30. Then
Yeah.
you finish, if we did that, finished fourth, like we did last season, all of a sudden, man, I kind of playing that tough tits.
You
that.
broke our rules. Yeah.
So it would need to be surely a European wide. I don't know exactly how it's all policed and stuff like that. I mean, it's certainly holding us back, like.
Massively.
Because the money's
But
there.
it's not just us, though. It's not just us that you look at the whole.
Well, Everton have got a temper.
Obviously, Everton.
And maybe
Temple-
another
maybe
With that,
more.
but
But that's
Forest have been charged today as well, based on
Yeah.
on there. There's a whole host of other clubs that are having to sit because, like we all know what our commercial side of things is still in the dark ages. But you've got other clubs that are around there. Luton have had to rely massively on loans and stuff like that. Again, that's what Forest did in the first season, that they came up with loans just to try and survive and bridge that gap because
I think
they didn't have that
you
revenue
look at the
coming
likes
in.
of us, and you look at probably Villa as well, because Villa have got
Villa's the same,
money as
yeah.
well there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they got 100 million for Grealish, didn't they, a couple of years ago?
That's the difference, yeah. But I can't remember which journalist I put this in. I think we were talking about it in the WhatsApp group as well yesterday. There was a journalist that said maybe for the first 2 years of a takeover, there should be some sort of grace period where financial fair play is less restricted.
Just go bananas.
Which just go mental for the first 2 years, yeah.
Well, it's like any business in the world, any sort of commercial activity where you come in and you buy something, you want to make it your own, and but by bringing in these owners, we're left with like you sat and said a number of times tonight, we're sitting left with players that we've had for 5-7 years that haven't moved on, that are still within the club, still being written. We're unable to move them on because we're unable to replace them because we're handcuffed by being able to spend money. The money's there to be able to spend. Yes, I get why the FFP's there and they want to protect clubs. You look at the situation that Reading have found themselves in at the moment, in things like that, where you've got certain owners that come and they can, there's a whole host of clubs that have had issues with owners, and you want to make sure that you're not putting clubs at risks. You look at Bury, for instance. There's another one where they've gone bust because of owners. We're never going to find ourselves in that situation with where we are with the owners, but it could get to the point where they are thinking, well, we can't get ourselves forward because we're trying to get as much money into the club as we can, but we're not saying that we're not able to then kind of reinvest that and get it out on the field because, again, we're still handcuffed by it. There needs to be some element of allowing, and it's not just for our club. Yes, obviously we're focusing on it because, we're allegedly, we've got the richest owners in the world. People say it's the richest club. It's not. It's the richest owners because the club can't spend any money because of the situation that we're in. But you've got the same in every other club that's in the league there at the minute. Yes, the big six have got that commercial revenue, so they can go out, they can splash hundreds of millions of pounds because they know that their books are going to balance at the end of the year.
And they've
because
already got those players of high quality which they can potentially sell on.
Because they've
and
done
they've
it,
got, for the most part, continental football as well, so they're getting the Champions League money year on year on year, and that makes a big difference.
It's just pretty.
So do you think financial fair play, rather than protecting the lesser, well, I'm saying lesser clubs, so that sounds horrible saying
No
that.
such thing, Chris.
Exactly. The less, what's the
The
best
clubs lower down the pyramid.
Yeah, the lower league teams and things like that. It's obviously brought in to protect them from going bust, like you just mentioned. It's now just protecting the top six,
the
really,
problem
isn't
with
it?
the likes of Bury, Reading, Derby, I mean, obviously teams out of Chester City, they've gone there. The Phoenix club now, altering them years ago. Like, it's bad owners as well. The ownership test hasn't been up to anything up to scratch. So it's teams. People can prove they're not going to. And the other thing is, I don't know how the 30 million losses things works lower down the pyramid, because like there's no way, like Shrewsbury, for instance, in that club, like the League One of them in Shrewsbury, they're not going to incur that kind of. They're not going to go, I would spend as long as we're within 30 million pounds on it. So it's a different. So I don't think that necessarily applies. It may be different to Football League. I don't know, to be honest with you.
Well, it still comes back to that a profit side of things.
Yeah,
that if they're losing money hand over fist,
I think
that's where they're picking up.
I think the bigger problem with Football League clubs is unsuitable, unfit people becoming owners.
Yeah.
And I understand that that's very rich Newcastle fans saying that. It's unfit in a totally different way to what like a regime, whatever, Man City, or a different thing, or just people who aren't It's like me going and saying like, "There's a club available. I'll go and buy Wimbledon." Let's say, I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing. I'm not a fit person to own a football club.
I'm rich, but that's it.
Yeah, I'm not that either. But yeah, I wouldn't know where to start. So like, it's having the right people do it. Like, there was the family at Blackpool that really run into the ground. I forgot what they call them now. The Vaughans was Chester.
Venky's a Blackburn as well.
Coventry. I mean, Coventry played Northampton for a few years, and they are a good side again now in the Championship, but they had a really rough run of it.
I don't like the guy that owns their stadium these days, though.
That's Ashley.
Mike Ashley, yeah, of course, that's right. So yeah, I think it's that maybe might be a safety net to help clubs, but I think the bigger problem within football, the football league, is just people who shouldn't be running football clubs. Who don't know what they're doing, or that crooks are trying to line their own pockets, which we've come across it as well in the past, like, you know.
But again, it comes back to the lack of money filtering down the leagues, though. And stuff.
I think that's a thing, but I think the money, teams are so desperate to progress and do it fairly quickly that the teams are getting money but not spending it well. Look at the parachute payments things. How many, like Sunderland? This isn't to take the piss out of Sunderland, but we're
going to anyway.
But they got the parachute payments when they went down from the Premier League and would have done into League One as well. And when they came up, I surmise that'll get them from the Championship to League One or some degree of compensation payment. By the time they came back up, it would have been outside of that 3-year window.
Gone, yeah.
So obviously the Premier League was what they came down in 2017. So it's,
and that's why Leicester are doing so well this season, because they've been able to keep the majority of the squad that they went down with together.
Yeah.
The two big players that they lost were obviously Barnes and
Tielemans at Villa.
Tielemans at Villa and
Schmeichel.
Madison.
Oh,
Schmeichel had already gone, hadn't he?
Madison as well, yeah.
So the money that they've then brought in from that, they've been able to reinvest in.
When we went down,
you'll see them come straight back.
The twice we went down,
Wijnaldum went, didn't he?
Wijnaldum, Sissoko. The first time round, Duff. Damien Duff went the first time. Michael Owen went the first time. It might be on a free, actually, Michael Owen, but we did it as well when we went down, actually, and I'm not going to become a Mike Ashley apologist like that, but he did when we went down. Both times he spent the money that needed to be spent to get him back up, and then obviously stopped doing it again. So yeah, I think football league clubs sometimes still do have money, but they don't spend it very well. You know, I think it's one of those things where it's saying, it's no good saying to the Vaughans at Chester City, again, because that's my wife's from Chester, so it's the club not close to me hard, but I want to keep an eye on. Saying to them, there's £50 million. Go and build a football club. Go and do what you want, because I'll have 45 million for myself, thanks.
Yeah,
then you look at Wrexham.
Yeah, but I think it's a weird one with Wrexham, because you would never have thought Hollywood. Is it Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney?
Yeah.
They seem to have done it right. I saw a thing quite early on with McElhenney where he said, we're not owners as much as we are custodians. Like, it's our turn to run it for a little bit, but eventually we'll pass on to somebody else, and we want to leave it in a better shape. We found it. I think they kind of get it.
Had a bit of help with the commercial deals as well, didn't they?
Well, that's the massive
United
thing for them.
And the gin, which is Ryan Reynolds' gin, wasn't it?
Aviation gin thing,
yeah. I'm sure it was his gin.
The stadium's named after, is it Stock?
It used to be the race course, then changed it.
Yeah. Commercially, they're miles ahead of a lot of teams in leagues above them.
They are. And it's still Rasico, still but I think they've kind of.
You sounded like that Mackham on that video there.
Rob McElhenney, I know he's a big like Philadelphia Eagles fan, so he kind of gets the community aspect of coming in like to follow a sports team. It's more of a franchise over there than it's what here, like, but they're kind of getting people together, and that's what it means to Wrexham. They seem quite invested in it from what I've seen. I've not watched a massive amount of documentary, but from looking from the outside, I think it looks like
all right. Yeah.
But yeah, you get for every situation like that, or like the King Power thing in Leicester, because they won League One, like, Leicester they won the league, won the FA Cup, and they've kind of leveled out a bit since, a little bit. But I think for every one of those, you get so many. Look at Villa, that Tony Gier, that was at Villa. Like unscrupulous, just bad owners, bad men owning football clubs. And there's just nothing seems to be getting done about it. They seem to be trying to, I'm not going to go on about that again, Newcastle. But going back to FFP, we were starting off. I would be, from our point of view, would be great if they relax it, because it feels like we are not being punished. But it's a bit jarring that the circumstances that we find ourselves in are similar to what Chelsea were in 20 years ago, Manchester City were in 11, 12 years ago, but we can't act on it. We can't say. And I'm not saying I want them to go out and buy, none of us saying, we must go out and buy Haaland, we must go out and buy Mbappe. We really want, like, Matt Hummels. I can't think of the centre half for some reason to come in. I wrote Matty Summer. I'm still sore about that one. But like, and I think what they've done with Newcastle is they've done it right for the most part. The women's team, for all they got beat off Man United yesterday in the cup, like they beat the won 7-0. I mean, they're going through that league like a dose of salt. They're going up this year by the looks of things. And it looks like that's what it's one of Amanda Staveley's big passions is what's got the women's team doing. So I think off the pitch they're doing an awful lot right. I think it's done pretty much everything that I know about right. You know, like the foundation stuff. Stuff around the stadium, the training ground, looking at a new training pitch altogether. That's all in it. That's why when I said earlier, I think we're in a far better position than we were a year ago. Because I do genuinely believe that. You know, it's not me kind of going, oh, well, we're shit in the football, shit in the league, but at least like I think we are. What the structure's in now that to build upon, and that's where on about like the teams that are in the top 6 at the minute, or the top 6 teams, because they're not top 6 at the minute either. But how they get, and that's what we are building towards. Like, you know, having the better facilities, getting the commercial deals in. We've got hair transplant partners, which obviously none of us have kind of taken leave of yet. What
If Cynic came up to me and said, "Do you want to come get your hair?"
Would he do it?
100% aye. I would do it. Like,
Mark? Would you embrace it? I can't imagine you do it here. I keep
If they're going to give us a free head of hair, then I'd have it back.
I keep forgetting you're bald.
yeah,
So I only ever
everybody
see
does.
it. So every now and then you'll be out with your lass, and she'll put
Because
a
you
photo
never
on
see him without the hat.
Put a photo on Instagram. Like, oh God,
Did
Chris
you
got-
forget the name of my lass? You know,
No,
the
I
same name
didn't.
as yours.
No, I didn't want to say it because I didn't know whether or not it was kind of like, oh, Chris didn't hear me. I've done it now, innit? But you know how like when people are funny about giving details, I'm like,
Oh, right,
maybe it's
okay.
a privacy thing, all that. Like, but like whenever I see photos of you, and it's like, oh God, Chris got any hair, and Mark's never got a hat on. You know what I mean?
I might start wearing one.
Right? That'd be weird.
See if you can
Yeah,
forget.
it'll be like
Jarvis.
old man with a snapback.
This guy's.
See if you can forget that
Maybe
I'm bald.
that gif is Steve Buscemi.
Hold on your shoulder.
How's it going, fellow kids? But I think we're getting run better than we were in time. The profit and sustainability thing won't be as much of an issue for us. It's just a shame that we've got these blocks in front of us. And since the takeover happened, there's the stuff about related party.
That scuppered everything, didn't it?
Yeah, big style. You know what I mean? And it's probably right, really, that it happened. It just feels like another. You can't let Newcastle do that, and it's hard not to feel world's smallest violin, like, but it's hard not to feel a bit hard done by.
Yeah.
And anyhow, this week saying we haven't got any friends in the loan market, really.
Well, wouldn't you? We didn't have any friends,
Yeah.
didn't we? We've known that for a long time.
No one wants to do a favour.
Newcastle against the world.
Yeah.
Just how we like it. Anything else you want to add? Because we have been going for over an hour now.
Mostly
Wow,
big
was
players.
this?
International break coming up now, isn't it?
No, it's the
we've got,
winter
sorry,
break.
we've got. It's just the winter break, is it?
Because there's only half the games.
Right. Oh, there's only
Weekend's
half
on
the
there.
teams playing,
And then
wasn't it?
it's
Yeah.
5 games, wasn't it, at the weekend?
Yeah. And then it's what's the date?
Villa.
15.
Next game, innit?
Fulham.
No,
Fulham in the cup now. Fulham in the cup,
then
yeah.
Villa,
Then
and
Villa.
it's
Fulham a week on Saturday. That's another shitter, isn't it?
Honking kickoff.
Saturday, 8 o'clock.
terrible.
Oh, is it half 7, 8, something like
It's
that.
a late
Isn't it?
kick-off. Like it's a kick-off that means that if you're going down on the train, you can't come back.
You're
Can't
not
get
get.
back.
You can't
Yeah.
get to
You've
him.
got to get the bus down or stay down there. Villa's a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Everton was a Thursday night. I mean, European games.
We always play Everton on a stupid bloody weeknight.
It's
Except for
always midweek, isn't it?
Yeah.
Aye. Always. It's rubbish, and it's again. It goes back years. I remember playing at Highbury, on pay-per-view. I think it was a Friday night. One of the games that we won.
You all right?
Pay-per-view. Even I can feel that bouncing back. The plosives bouncing
The
off.
pops coming out of that
Oh,
microphone.
that sounds shite on there again, isn't it? That's just bestie. But I remember playing them on box office, and like that was a Friday night, and it was a 8 o'clock half-8 kick-off, and people were going, "Can I get back from Highbury yet?"
Yeah.
That's having a Friday night, and if they think it was worse, then
I know kids, does it?
it's rubbish, it's crap, and as long as people go to away games,
Which will always happen.
which will always happen. I
rightly
wouldn't,
so,
I wouldn't expect people not to. But as long as away ends are sold out, they'll go, "Oh, there's no problem here."
Yeah.
You know, it's shite, it's rubbish.
And they put the prices up.
Yeah, 40 quid.
40 quid.
40 quid.
40 quid.
40
Aye.
quid.
For a FA Cup ticket.
For Fulham, aye.
Put the prices up.
Tories.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is.
Cottages.
Allegedly.
Definitely are.
Right, that's it. Thanks everybody for joining on the live one. There's been over 200 people right the way
Is
through
Michael
this one.
Jackson's statue still there?
Nah, I got rid of it.
Where did they put it?
Neverland. No, that's Peter
Does
Pan.
Neverland still
What's it
exist?
called?
That will not exist.
No, Neverland was.
Was it Neverland?
Yeah,
Neverland Ranch, that was
Ne-
it,
ne-
wasn't it?
Does
Peter
Neverland
Pan-
still exist?
Peter Pan's Neverland.
Does it still exist? Or did they get rid of that?
Neverland, yeah, still there.
I think
Is
it's
actually.
actually.
Yeah.
Isn't it like a tourist
That
attraction now?
documentary That was on a couple of years ago. Everyone was going, "Oh God, he was a paedophile, wasn't he?"
With Martin,
Allegedly.
Martin
Not
Bashir.
Bashir. Oh, it was off the back of that, yeah. And they're cutting about leather.
Oh, was he the one playing in Neverland? Is that what it was? Or was it
Aye,
the
that
Martin
was the
show?
one about.
That was Peter Pan, wasn't it? That was a.
No,
Finding
that was the
Neverland
one
was like
about the allegations.
Yeah. In fact, I think we should probably stop this. Thanks everybody for joining us.
I'm sure Finding Neverland was a Peter Pan thing, you know. I'm sure Robin Williams was Hook.
But I think that was the title of the TV show as well.
Is Bubbles still alive?
No. Right. Sorry, everybody.
Not
Thanks.
in
I'm going
any-
to talk about Tom. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure as always. If you are watching this video and you like everything, like the video, it means a lot to us. Become a subscriber. It costs nothing to do that.
Bubbles on Big Brother.
Shut up, man. If you want to give an extra bit back, it is just $2.99 a month to become a member. You get extra content. You get early access to content. You get access to the
Bubbles,
Telegram
darling.
group. If you're listening to the audio as well, just give us a 5-star rating if you'd like to do so.
20 years old,
Leave a
Little Britain.
comment as well.
He's older.
He's lost it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Doing my head in. Thanks, everybody. See you later. Ta-ra.